What up? What up? What up? It's your man Sean P coming in live. This is the Sean P Experience, man. We are back at it again as promised. I have a phenomenal guest on my screen. You see in the brother right now. You see the beautiful. I love a good bookshelf in the background. Come on, man. I got the Superfly Nerd. That's a hard title. We can do all day on that. The Superfly Nerd, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Sean. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me do your official introduction, man. Kick it off.
Okay.
Jaylen Christie is the award-winning PR strategist, author, and thought leader recognized by Black Enterprise as a B modern man and the Orlando Business Journal as a 40 under 40 honoree. His work spans major brands, national media, and cultural commentary, with a focus on storytelling, diversity, and identity. Through his leadership, writing, and creative works, he continues to shape conversations at the intersection of media, culture, and community. I welcome you to Mr. Jaylen Christie.
Thank you so much for that phenomenal introduction. I really appreciate that. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir. I want to start off with something real quick. I want to define two things.
Sure.
So I saw on your profile on Instagram doing my research. On your profile, it says you are a well-read, well-written man, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
so, Brother Reggie Reeves and I were
Okay.
discussing this 5 years. We had a whole hour-long live on how do you define a well-read person.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked many respected scholars I love, and we all love, in their inboxes, how they define being well read. Do they consider themselves well read? I want to ask you this question to this morning, today. How do you define a well read person?
Oh man, I think my definition is just someone that's always, got a book in their hands, someone that's always devouring information, staying on top of current trends, up to date with what's trending in literature, things of that nature. So for me, I grew up reading books. Like once my mom and dad gifted me and blessed me with a library card, it was impossible to keep me out of the library. So I mean, like you see the bookshelf behind me. Yeah, so I think my definition of being well read is just someone that's always constantly reading and up to date with what's going on in the world.
A secondary question: do you
Sure.
think it's about like how deeply somebody reads something, or the breadth of how much they read per year, kind of thing?
I don't know if it's how deeply someone reads something. It might just be the breadth of what they've consumed regarding literature.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go to
Sir,
the second definition. Well, they got two more. So
talk to
the superfly nerd.
yes,
How
sir.
would
Talk
you define being a superfly nerd? Who is that? What is that?
All right, Sean, with the good questions, my man. So all my life I've been a nerd. All right, now it's cool to be a nerd. So now we call it a blurred, right? All right, so it's a blurred. So as a kid, I was labeled a nerd because I was always reading books, always into Power Rangers, Batman, superheroes. I'm Team DC over Marvel. That's how I get down. All right, so I was always labeled a nerd. All right, but then as I grew older, like I was always, I guess I've been told that, I'm hip, well dressed, things of that nature, so that's where the Superfly came in. So as I got older, once I got to college, proud graduate of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, all day, I bleed orange and green. And then I got the nickname, the
Fam, you
Superfly Nerd. Fam you all day. Fam you all day. So that's how Superfly Nerd came about.
now that's cool, man, because me and my collective individually, we all try to make this reading thing cool again, man. Make reading books cool, make it a part of regular cultural conversation, just like hip hop, just like sports.
Yes,
We can
sir.
discuss books in the barbershop, like everything else. We try to separate those worlds, and they shouldn't be separate, man. We can talk about politics and
Right.
sports and
Yep.
everything else and books. Like it's not either or to us. We still make it look good. We still make it
Right.
look fly. We still gonna
Right.
step out. We gonna
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will say now, like, so I'm gonna just be honest. I'm 39, so I was born back in the 80s. So when I was a kid, some of that might not have been cool. But now,
don't say it like that, brother. I'm 44. Don't say
hey,
I'm 44. Don't say it like
hey,
that.
but you don't look it, bro, because black don't crack. All right,
The,
black
the,
don't crack.
the,
Black
the,
don't
the
crack.
19
All
the
right.
1900s.
But what I will say, Sean, is you fast forward to 2026, like nowadays, like I said earlier, like being a blurred, it's embraced, so individuals that are constantly reading or are well read or keeping up to date with science and STEM and things of that nature, that's the hip thing now, you know. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm a full supporter of it all the way.
So to go on to the next thing, man, like so for a long time, as you just demonstrated, like being smart in our generation in the '80s and stuff, it wasn't really cool.
Yeah, it
I was
wasn't.
the athlete growing up. I was in
Yeah.
the athlete table. That was
Yep.
me, right? So unfortunately, I wasn't really reading and writing and stuff. So I saw the treatment of the
Yeah.
nerds at school,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I witnessed that, right? Outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Mm-hmm.
question is, what can we do as black men to
Mm-hmm.
draw in the young brothers now and to make them gravitate toward reading, writing, doing our little creative endeavors that we do
Mm-hmm.
as hobbies or whatever. That some might say, "Oh man, you doing that? Like that's frowned upon." How do we make that attractive?
Yes, sir. That's a good question, Sean. So I think what it is so I mean, so first and foremost, so if you have someone that's into sports and things of that nature, I think there's nothing wrong with that. But I also think it's good. I also think conversely, while they're into sports, then you can introduce them to, hey, this is something that's cool, but reading is cool too. Or you may be into sports, but let me show you this book that was, published on LeBron James, or the late great Kobe Bryant, so introducing them to reading that way. If they choose to become an athlete, if that's one of their aspirations, if you're a parent, then definitely encourage that, but also remind them that, hey, if this does not work out, here are some books that detail some alternative careers or some alternative routes that you can take. So that's how I think that I would position it. I know for me, when I was introduced to black writers. For me, because I grew up reading comic books. All right. So for whatever reason, as a child, I don't know. I couldn't fathom. I guess when I was a kid, I was exposed to a lot of white writers and white creators. And then once I got introduced to black creators, that's when like my world started to expand, So I think that I would go that route and letting young black men and young black girls too, young black women as well, know that there's a whole plethora of possibilities out there. You may be focused on one thing, but reading can open up the door even wider, even more vastly for sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think all the time on my own childhood and my early education of myself,
Yes, sir.
and the possibility of what teachers or even my parents could have done maybe to sway me toward taking school more seriously. And I was such a basketball guy. If I
Hmm.
would have known how many books Kareem have written,
Yeah.
I'd have been like, "What Kareem did? What?"
Yeah.
Like you said, Kobe Bryant was fluent in various languages, man. Like these guys were the coldest at the game, and they were still studious and everything
Yes, sir.
else. If I could have seen that blend,
Yes,
I
sir.
might have been more attracted to it. I don't know. It's hypothetical, of course, but
I think it's it's all in how you present it, right? I know for me, because some people are into fiction, some people are into nonfiction. Like it's whatever floats your boat, right? So I think for someone that's interested in making money, like when I get invited to speak to schools or to youth groups and to different organizations, usually for the majority of the time that when I'm asked to speak to the students, it's from a reading perspective or a book perspective. So what I'm telling them is, hey, you can get lost in fantasy in a book if that's what you choose to do. But if you're trying to be an entrepreneur or go that route, there are also books that can guide you with money making skills and tactics and things of that nature. So it's out there for sure.
let's do a slight pivot to you personally. Tell us
Hmm.
about like in your childhood. You mentioned a little bit, like your early interests, your early hobbies, the
Hmm.
things that really captured your mind as a youth. What was that?
For definitely superheroes, definitely superheroes. Yeah, so I grew up, with X-Men, Power Rangers, Batman, the animated series. I actually have Superman on pause right now. My TV is right off to the side. Superman, the James Gunn version, the one that came out last year. So I'm halfway through it. I have it on pause. I've seen the movie 20 times though. So yeah, so I grew up on superheroes, and then my hobbies, in addition to reading, were also illustrating as well. So I would draw and write homemade comic books that my mom and my dad, my sister, my friends and family members, they would read my comic books, and they would always tell me, Jaylen, we got to do something with this one day. And I think in the back of my head, I probably knew one day I'd make it happen, but it was always kind of iffy. But then when I grew up, one of my fraternity brothers, my line brother, actually, Carlin Johnson, some proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Got to rep the Alphas real quick. But my line brother, my number four, He was like, Jaylen, all these illustrations that you've done, all these characters that you have in your head, this was a hobby of yours as a kid. I feel as though there is an audience out there that is vastly interested in what you have to say. So go ahead and make that comic book dream a reality. But yeah, to answer your question, Sean, when I was a kid, my hobbies, reading, writing, and illustrating. Those are my hobbies.
That lands us on today's actual main topic, the main event, man. Your comic book,
Yes, sir.
Thinkbound Man.
Yes,
So
sir.
give us back, go if you can, back to the beginning.
Sure.
How did the idea start formulating in you about the characters,
Yeah.
story, the whole? How did it start shaping?
Sure. Okay, so good question, Sean. Good question. And once again, thank you so much for having me. I'm really enjoying myself. All right. So, two parts of this question. So, the name of the comic book is Stink Bomb Man and the Brain Kids because as a child, I had Stink Bomb Man as a character, and then I had the Brain Kids as characters. So, there was a comic book series, a homemade comic book series that I did for the Brain Kids, and there was a homemade comic book series that I did for Stink Bomb Man. Now, the Brain Kids were created when I was a first grader. And then I created Stink Bomb Man when I was a third grader. And the reason that these characters were created is because as a child, I did not have a lot of Black representation. So we had Storm in the early 90s X-Men series, which was phenomenal. I mean, like Storm's a badass, all right? And then I had Zach, the Black Ranger, in the first season of Power Rangers. Zach was played by Walter Emmanuel Jones. But what most people tend to forget is that Zach was only featured in the first season and half of the second season before he was unceremoniously written off because the actor got fired over a pay dispute. So I didn't really have a lot of representation as a child. So I created my own characters, my own Black superhero characters for representation. And I only created them for fun, Sean. Like that, I don't think that Stink Bomb Man was ever meant to be taken seriously because the character is comedic. So I was a comedic writer as a kid. I feel like I'm still comedic now, but I was a comedic writer as a kid with Stink Bomb Man. And then with the Brain Kids represent Black excellence. All right. So they have no superpowers. They fight crime using STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So it's Jesse McBrilliant and Brittany McBrilliant. And they work together to keep the city safe. Whereas Stink Bomb Man, he's an intergalactic peacekeeper from the planet Stinkopolis. All right. And how he fights crime is with stink bombs. He doesn't want to use violence. All right. Now, with Brittany McBrilliant and Jesse McBrilliant, you can come get these hands. All right. But with Stink Bomb Man, he's not choosing violence. He's trying to choose, a peaceful, diplomatic solution. But when push comes to shove, he uses stink bombs to disarm his opponents. And then as I got older, I decided to bring both of those together and then make them a comic book series, a joint comic book series.
So this is my question, right? You was a young person doing this. Teachers, classmates, family, they seeing what you doing on the corner, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then when it finally manifests to this actual publication, like, what's some of the reactions you got from your family, from your friends? Like, what was the response when it manifested?
Overwhelming positive responses, overwhelmingly positive, feedback and support. So I was very strategic. So Stink Bomb Man and the Brain Kids was self-published back in Black History Month in 2023. All right. So this is a few years ago, right? So I also am a public relations practitioner. So I do PR, as you indicated in my bio. I do PR for, different clients. So, you know how it is, Sean, being an independent creator, sometimes you don't have the money to hire a public relations team or a marketing team. But since my background is in public relations, as my fraternity brother Carlin pointed out, he was like, well, Jaylen, you can write it, you can illustrate it, but you can also do your own public relations for it. So I was like, okay, bet. So I had to sit down and put together a PR strategy. And I was like, okay, well, since my superheroes are Black, since they're African American, what would be the best time to distribute this, to release this? I originally thought December 2022, Christmas season. I thought that, hey, people, sales, this be a good stocking stuffer for the kids, But then I gave it some more thought, some additional thought. And I was like, let me wait until Black History Month because I feel like though, news reporters and producers and storytellers and members of the media, they're going to be looking for Black centric stories, African-American centric stories for Black History Month. So I self-published it and released it Black History Month 2023, and it just took off, man. Like I had moms and dads sending me photos of their children reading my comic books. I was invited to speak at an elementary school back in 2023, and a little Black girl told me that she could see herself in the Brittany McBrilliant character. I just so much feedback. I got a little boy asking me when's the sequel coming out. I'm just like, hey, I can only do so much. All right, like give me some time, But I sold out, bro. I sold out. I sold out. So I was in stock for a year, and then before February 2024. I was all out. I was all out of all of my copies, man. So that was a good problem to have. It's still a problem, but it was a good problem to have. So now I'm back in stock, and I'm gonna tell you this, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. God works in mysterious ways, because I've been so busy this year. It's been a good year. It's been a good 2026. I have no complaints, man. But I have not had as much time to market and do PR for my comic book being back in stock, because I'm also currently earning a PhD in sociology at the University of Central Florida. So I'm busy. Your boy is busy, man. But God works in mysterious ways, because like, even though I haven't done a lot of marketing for it, like for some reason, I think I announced it on Instagram in my stories. Hey, I'm back in stock if anyone's interested. And I've been getting sales. Like, people have been coming back. Like, I've had people, like I had an influencer, true story. I had an influencer reach out to me in February, and she was like, Jaylen, I missed your comic book when you ran out of stock, but I was waiting for you to announce that it's back in stock. I'm putting in my order today. All right. So I'm just like, yo, like, just the love is real. Like I love my Black people. I love my Black people. Like Issa Rae said, I'm rooting for everybody Black. All right. So it's been good. It's been good. But just the joy that I'm seeing, and the love and support, and just, having people tell me, yes, Jaylen, like I was waiting for this. I had a news reporter, Sean, I'm trying not to give you no long-winded answer. I'm gonna wrap it up with this.
Hey, no. This is your show. I'm just the host. This is your show.
Man. Thank you. I had a news reporter. Her name is Ginger Gadsden. She's a local news reporter here in Orlando, Florida. She's with WKMG News 6. All right. I've known Ginger for years. She moved to Orlando when I got my very first public relations job. And I told Ginger years ago, yo, I got this idea for this comic book. I created these characters when I was a child. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it one day. And Ginger told me, she was like, as soon as that comic book publishes, let me know, and I'm going to get you on my show. And she was a woman of her word. Once my comic book launched, I reached out to Ginger, and I was like, hey, it's out. And she was like, hey, what you doing next week? Come on the show. So with her help and a few other reporters and producers and members of the media, their support, I was able, to spread the word to Black parents that this is out. So it was great. It was really good, man.
No, that's an amazing story, man. So I know that writing, people don't realize how lonely writing could be when you're sitting by yourself.
Yeah.
Early morning or late night, whatever it is, but you're by yourself, getting this thing out of your mind on the paper, not knowing if somebody gonna resonate with it, if somebody gonna really feel it. So to get that feedback,
yes, sir,
has to be tremendous, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Listen. Your boy was crying copious tears. All right, thug tears, but copious tears nonetheless. All right, but to your point, because you're writing something, you're pouring your heart into it. You think it's good, but you're like, I hope it resonates with people. Like, I hope it gets the job done. So I put it out there and was like, okay, hey, I can say this is a dream, a goal accomplished, like mission accomplished. My dream came true. Let's see how this performs. But once I started hearing from parents on social media, and they started sending me videos of their children reacting positively to it, like, I was just like, wow, like one of the catchphrases the brain kids say when they're transforming to the brain kids, they always say, Brainerator's online is butt kicking time. And I had one of my friends sent a video of his daughter. His daughter was like 4, and she had the comic book in her hand, and she was like, it's butt kicking time. And I was like, okay, well, I'm glad you said that. Don't go to school trying to fight your friends. All right, don't be throwing no hands. But I appreciate. I like the fact that it's resonating with you. So yeah, man, it was good. It was a tremendous feeling. God is good.
So I don't know your personal life, obviously. Do you have children?
Nah,
Okay,
man,
okay,
I
cool.
ain't got kids yet.
That's
I
cool.
ain't got kids
So
yet.
so so nah. So the question is, as you're writing this book for small children,
Mhm.
like, how do you go about going in your mind, like the dialogue and what's happening? Like, do you have test kids to, like, test it out on? Like, how does this sound? Or how does this look?
Yeah.
Or how
So
do you do the process?
I'm glad you asked that question. That's another good question, Sean. Sean, you've been knocked out of the park with these questions, sir. Like, well done, my guy. Well done. Hey, let's go, let's go, let's go. All right. So what I do is, so I speak to a lot of youth groups. All right. So I speak with the Boys and Girls Clubs. I used to speak with the South. I used to work for the Salvation Army, with their youth department. So I'm frequently interacting with young children. But what I always do is, before I, put something out into the world, always test it first. So I'm sending it to my friends. My friends let their children read it. I try to stay up to date with, slang, AAVE. What are the cool kids saying today?
Bruh,
I try not to date it too much,
man.
but
Well,
yeah, it's a lot, right? It's a lot, right? It's a lot, right? So I actually had a friend of mine yesterday. He read a short story that I wrote and gave me some feedback. And then I incorporate his feedback, to keep it going, So, before something is distributed by me, it's always gone through multiple rounds of revisions. It's gone through multiple hands, multiple eyes, friends and young students reading it and then giving me their feedback. And then I make adjustments accordingly.
so you could have written this book for any age group, teens, young adult, whatever. What made you focus intentionally on the babies, the small age group, that kind of a thing? How was that your choice?
Yeah, so I'm actually glad you said that. So Stink Bomb and the Brain Kids was written for what I thought was an elementary school audience. But then after friends started reading it and after other individuals started reading it and parents started reading it, the feedback that I got was, Jaylen, this is good, but it's for middle school. It's not for elementary school. It's for middle school. So
See?
still for kids, but it's a middle school audience and now the elementary school audience. And I was like, oh, okay. But I think I chose the youth route, the youth demographic, is because I think that Black students benefit from having positive role models, right? So I was intentional in the creation of the Brain Kids. So these characters were created when I was a kid, but I also had to update it for a contemporary audience, right? So the Brain Kids deal with everyday sociological concepts and sociological issues while balancing a life of being a superhero. All right. But the positive representation is that, Brittany McBrilliant and Jesse McBrilliant, both of them young Black students at James Baldwin High School. All right. But are
Look at that. James
the
Baldwin High School?
I
That
do
was
what
dope. That
I
was
do what
dope.
I can,
Don't
man.
don't just glance past that thing. Man.
I do what I can, man. I do what I can. But with Brittany McBrilliant, Jesse McBrilliant, they are, as their name implies, pun intended, they are absolutely brilliant. They come from a certain pedigree of scholars and researchers and astronauts and just very intellectual. Their grandfather is Dr. Beaumont McBrilliant. He has 5 PhDs. He's also a former secret agent. And their father has gone missing. Their father, Dr. Jeffrey McBrilliant, has gone missing under mysterious circumstances, Sean. And all signs point to Nicodemus Graves, who is the billionaire CEO industrialist of Grave Corp Industries. And Brittany McBrilliant and her brother Jesse McBrilliant together are investigating it. They're investigating it with the help of Stink Bomb Man, who has superpowers. But with Brittany and Jesse, it's all aptitude. It's all aptitude. So I'm hoping that when young readers, digest this and when they're exposed to Stink Bomb Man and the Brain Kids, they look at that and they say, okay, Brittany is, one day going to be an engineer. Like, she's good with STEM. Jesse is good with STEM. If they can do it and make it look cool, then this is a field that I one day can pursue as well. So that was one of the reasons why I chose, the audience regarding the youth, so they can see that and it can influence them as they grow older and matriculate through high school and college?
This is a great conversation because I had a conversation with a book influencer last night about like between that middle grade, young adult, in a children book,
Hmm.
the lines could get blurry
Yeah.
with certain books. So certain books have certain language in it where I'm like, as a parent, I
Hmm.
don't want my daughter reading this at this certain age.
Yeah.
Or it
Yeah.
might be certain subject matters where it's like, well, it's probably better up here versus down here. And to be
Hmm.
able to work that spectrum, man, is it's blurry. It's
Absolutely. It is blurry. It is blurry. So I'll tell you this, like, listen, I ain't no educator. All right. But what I will say is, these days, elementary school is still typically safe. We would hope, right? But by the time a child hits middle school, you're exposed to so much, there's only so much that a parent can do to shield their children from, what's going on in the world today. So I feel like when you're in elementary school, you're still pure, so to speak. And I don't even know if that's necessarily the right word to describe, an elementary school student, but pure is what came to mind. I think you're pure in middle school, but once you get to middle school, you're exposed to just so much, Sean, just so much, So that's just a parent's job. You have to decipher, what it is that a child is reading or watching or listening to or digesting, right? So just gotta be mindful of that. So that's why I'm telling you, when my comic book came out, and I had a friend of mine who was actually the principal of an elementary school. She read my comic book and she was like, I like it, but this is for middle schoolers. And I was like, okay, good feedback. I see.
yeah,
Understood.
yeah, yeah.
Because some of the
Because
themes and the subject matter. But go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
even though traditionally I've
Yes, sir.
written nonfiction self help,
Yes, sir.
um, I'm doing other things now, but 9 years ago, my first book, I'll
Hmm.
never forget this. I had one curse word in the book, one.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And my longtime mentor, whenever he read it, he was like, man, take that word out. But
Mm,
sometimes I'm not advocating like cursing, right?
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
sometimes only these words really embody this
Yeah.
moment, right?
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
need this word for this.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, all these other
Yes.
words, I love words, I love
Yes.
language,
Yes.
but this
Yes, sir.
word really fits.
Yes,
But I'm
sir.
so glad that he told me that because unbeknownst to me, years later,
Mm,
my book is in all these school libraries.
yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
glad that that one word isn't in that book. My
Mm,
book has been featured at churches, church events, and
amen.
symposiums. And I'm going to, children organizations, the
Yeah.
Deltas, the
Yeah.
AKAs, the
Yes, sir.
Kappas come
Yes,
talk to
sir.
the kids. I'm
Yes,
glad
sir.
that that one word I had isn't in that book. And
Yeah.
ever since then, I don't curse in my book. My
Nope.
personal choice. I don't use language in my book, but it's just something to think about in the day of they're banning books, they're trying to
Yeah.
restrict information. So we're trying to toe the line as creators.
It's crazy. It's crazy. That's the beautiful thing about being, an independent creative is, if you weren't independent, you'd have to go through like the censoring phase with a major publisher who can sometimes dictate the content of your book. But as an independent creator, you can determine that yourself. So I know for me, I'm really big on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's now it's under attack. To me, it doesn't make sense why it's under attack. But now it's under attack. And one of the themes with Stink Bomb Man and the Brain Kids is diversity, equity, inclusion. So the book is unapologetically black. So even though my three leading characters are black, their world is populated with, various characters from across the spectrum of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So for example, the Brain Kids, their grandfather, Dr. Beaumont McBrilliant, he is an openly gay man. Jesse McBrilliant's best friend, Riley, is a white, freckle faced, redheaded kid. Jesse has a crush on Elle Yamamoto, who is a young Japanese American girl. Uh, Elle's best friend Trish is from the disabled community. My character Brittany McBrilliant, her best friend is Indian, and you've got people of different body types and body shapes. So I tried to make it as diverse as possible. That way when young readers see it, they can see themselves reflected in the pages, because the world is diverse. So like I indicated, the book is unapologetically Black. All right, it's a Black book, but the supporting characters, the individuals that occupy the hallways of James Baldwin High School, the individuals that are in Jesse and Brittany's, their life, very, very diverse, very diverse.
So tell me, as a creative, the mental and emotional endurance to carry a story inside yourself for that many years, like what kept the flame lit? As you're going through life
Yeah.
is happening, you're evolving as a man.
Yeah.
How you keep going back to, like, what, that thing I had when I was a kid, how do you keep that and keep it going is the question.
Yeah, so that's a good question, Sean. I don't know, man. Life be lifing, man. Like, life be lifing. So the book was supposed to be published. I mean, if I had it my way, the book would have been published like a decade or so ago. But you in college, you're trying to find an apartment, you breaking up with your girlfriend, just all kinds of things, right? So in 2020, which I look back as, COVID and corruption is what my ex-girlfriend used to call it. COVID and corruption is what 2020 was known for. And yeah. And I don't know, man. Like, my fraternity brother was just like, hey, everything that's going on in the world, like, I feel like now would be that time to revisit that idea that you had. Because I kept pushing my idea back, like, I had it in my head. I would jot a few things down, but I never sat down and actually like tried to make it a reality, because once I got busy, I started a master's degree program, then got the master's degree, then my public relations career took off, then I bought a house, just things just kept getting in the way. I could never really find the time to sit down and focus. And one of my good friends told me once, he said to me, he's like, Jaylen, every time, we talk about our goals and our dreams, you always mention your comic book, but you have not sat down and you have not written it yet. Brother, you need to sit down, you need to illustrate this, you need to write it, and you need to make it a reality. I'm tired of hearing you talk about it. It's been years that you've been talking about it. Sit your behind down and make this a reality. And you know what? I was like, he's right. I was like, he is absolutely right. So what I had to do was I had to become disciplined. And to be honest with you, because we talking today, Sean, I am not the most disciplined person. Like, I can get easily distracted.
Are you serious?
I'm dead ass. All right. I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. All right. I am not the most disciplined person. I'm frequently pulled in so many directions. So when it came to my comic book, I had to be intentional. So what I would do is I would wake up early and I'd be like, okay, the first 2 hours, first 3 hours of the day, I've got to illustrate. Writing is not the problem. I can write. I love writing. That's my God-given talent. God bless me with the gift of writing. I enjoy writing. For me, writing is therapeutic. All right. I can also illustrate. That's the second talent that God gave me. I don't feel like the illustrations come as easily as the writing. The writing is fun. When I illustrate, I gotta be locked in. I gotta be focused. So when it's time for me to do my comic book, I was like, okay, the first 2-3 hours of the day, you got to get up, you got to get your pencil, you got to get this paper, and you got to illustrate. And I had to lock in and focus. And that's how I started my day. And that's how I got my comic book done. I'm doing a little bit each day.
Let's have a little bit of fun, Mr. Discipline.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
saw your stories this morning.
Yes, sir.
I went to the gym this morning early. I was still at work. You was in the gym working out.
Yeah.
So I'm being serious now.
Yes, sir.
But the same discipline from doing that, and now you're doing it in the physical world. Is there any like parallel or any like the same thing it takes to do that at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, whatever time it was?
Listen, Sean. Listen, it's been kicking my ass. All right, Sean. I'm being honest with you. But no, man. As I approach 40, I was like, I want to make some positive health changes. I would like to live to see my 90s at least. So my friends encouraged me to, look into getting a personal trainer. And I did. And he's available at 5 and 6 in the morning. And I was like, okay, I got this goal. I want to look good by FAMU homecoming. FAMU homecoming is in October. All right. So I was like, I gotta bow, like I gotta, hey, yes, sir. Let's go. All right. So I gotta be up in the morning. But I'm gonna tell you something, Sean. I'm gonna be honest with you because we talking. We talking. So you might have seen on my Instagram stories that I was at the gym, but it took the act of God to get me to the gym. like I was like, yo, I ain't trying to be here today. I text my sister and my sister me back and she was like, Jaylen, this is your goal.
Yeah.
You need to go. All right. You said you was going to do this.
So
You need to go.
you just said we talking right now.
Yes,
For
sir.
those that don't realize, besides doing this, I was a personal trainer for like 15 years of my life. I was a
Nice.
personal trainer,
Okay. Nice.
certified multiple times in various things.
Yes, sir.
But my thing is, I'm not a morning person.
Okay.
So my nightmare client was a person like you at 5 in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
used to hate the early morning client, like, man, out of
Yeah.
all times,
Mm-hmm.
6 in the morning. Oh, I used to hate it.
Yeah.
I used to
And
hate it. I'm the coach.
hey,
I used to hate
yeah,
it.
bro, we here because I hate it. All right, I would prefer to work out at like 11 a.m. or like noon. But for my personal trainer, his thing is he's a morning person. So he's like, okay, Jaylen, you trying to get these abs? You better meet me at 6 a.m. Now I will tell you. Now tomorrow I'm blessed because he already hit me up earlier. He was like, well, I got another client coming in at 6, so tomorrow you can meet me at 7. Okay, bet I could do 7. All right. That means
Bro,
I get an extra hour of sleep. All
hey,
right.
bro,
So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
you saying so much right now.
Yeah,
It's
man.
totally counterintuitive as far as monetary wise.
Yes, sir.
When my 6 in the morning client would cancel, I'm like,
Yeah. Yes.
I'm in the
Yes.
bed like, bet.
Let's go. Exactly.
I'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So tomorrow's
Yeah,
at 7.
yeah.
But discipline comes from, you form these habits, right? And it's all about how bad you want it. So I really wanted, when my homeboy said to me, Jaylen, you always been talking about your comic book, but you never got to complete it. That really ignited a spark within me to get it done. Now, taking my health more seriously, and every day is different. Some days I wake up and it's easy for me to go. Some days I wake up and I'm just like, Lord, I do not feel like doing this. But it all boils down to discipline. I'm not perfect, I just do the best that I can.
Let me go to the illustration conversation right fast, man. You've been drawing since you was young. Second
sir.
gift you just said, right?
Sir.
Let's go into this pocket of conversation because for most children books and comic books, the main thing that stops most people I talk to is illustration. Illustration could be a beast to itself as far as to pay for it or whatever.
Yes,
You
sir.
can do it yourself. That's one thing, right? But the second piece I want to ask you is today's AI technology generation. People can use things to generate images that they couldn't before. So give me your take on the use of technology for illustration and that kind of a conversation.
So my unadulterated opinion, Sean. So I think that AI is a blessing and a curse. All right. I do see the benefits of it, but when it comes to labeling yourself a creative, I don't think that makes you a creative if you're using AI to illustrate, a comic book or to illustrate a children's book or what have you. Like you didn't do that. You might have given the technology a prompt to generate the content for you, but you didn't create the content. Now, if you need something for like, a flyer or, like a quick presentation, sure. But to distribute something and sell and garner a profit from that, my views on that is you're not creative. Like you're not using your skill sets. I don't think there's anything wrong with hiring someone to help you out. So for me, I might be able to illustrate, and that's what I'm good at. But I'm not a colorist. I don't feel like coloring my stuff. All right. So I illustrated my comic book, but I hired a colorist to come in and apply the actual color to my illustrations. Conversely, when it came time for me to like market my comic book, I hired a graphic designer to help me create flyers. All right. So I'm all about supporting the community, especially when they're black, So I know that there are a lot of views on AI, but I do think that you gotta use the best way in which you see fit, but just be mindful of that. You can't say that I created this if AI did 90% of the work, So that's just my view on it.
Okay, cool. Let's pivot to journalism, right? You have a journalism background. I mean, like academically, for real. The conversation been for a while brewing about like traditional trained journalists versus like I guess I would say like myself, right? A social media creator. I didn't go to journalism school, nothing like that's not my background. Like we're seeing right now, a lot of major news outlets are going away for various reasons. And these creators are getting these opportunities that It take a long time for a journalist to get most time. They just
Mhm.
leapfrogging the whole process to go straight. They're on the red carpet. They're doing these interviews, Jay-Z interview, whatever. So give me your take on that as a trained journalist.
So my opinion is that I don't think that journalism will ever go away entirely. I think that journalists and public relations practitioners are still needed even with the rise of AI because AI is not perfect. I think that there is a place for influencers. I have nothing negative to say about influencers. But having said that, there was an incident maybe like a month or so ago with Delroy Lindo, who was the star of Sinners, and
Yep, yep,
an
yep.
influencer interviewed him on the red carpet, and I think he referred to Mr. Lindo as a newcomer. And Mr. Lindo responded and was like, "I am not a newcomer. I have been around for decades." Now, a trained journalist, a trained reporter would have known that. So in that moment, it was like, it put a magnifying glass on, okay, like some of these influencers aren't doing their research. This is why you still need reporters. All right. Having said that, Chat GPT and Gemini and things of that nature, they can be used to assist you, but they are not perfect. For example, I had a friend of mine that when the late great Jesse Jackson passed away, he's a public relations practitioner as well, and he was getting pulled in so many directions, so he needed Chat to serve as his assistant to help him with a quick press release. And Chat misspelled Jesse Jackson's name. Now that's not good, all right. But luckily he caught it. He didn't just send it; he caught it, and reviewed it, So it's like that's why you still need editors. That's why you still need journalists. That's why you still need reporters, producers. I do believe that Chat and AI can function as an assistant to these individuals, but I do not believe that AI will ever fully. I don't believe it will ever fully take the place of a reporter or a journalist. And plus, even though journalistic institutions and newspapers and magazines are being challenged, and even though some of them are, going bankrupt and going under, the job of a journalist, what I learned as a FAMU student when I was studying journalism, the job of a journalist, we're supposed to be the ethical conscience, so to speak. Our job is to report and tell the news, tell the truth, not be biased. And even though in 2026 things have undoubtedly shifted, there are still journalists and reporters that are doing their damnedest, trying their hardest, to continue to enlighten Americans on what's going on, to continue to fight the good fight, to continue to tell the truth about what's going on, not just in the government but in the world, overall. And you still need those individuals. So that must probably a long way to answer your question, Sean.
No, I
I hope
did.
I answered it. I hope I answered it.
I love a good long answer, man.
Sir,
I'm a student still. I'm still a student, right?
I am as
Um,
well. Yes, sir.
but with journalism, in today's time, with all the stuff going on, we have war going on right now.
Yeah.
We have things going on here on the home front,
Hmm.
and independent journalists are
Hmm.
like the main ways we can get an actual understanding of what's really going on versus what the mainstream giving to us.
Hmm.
These on the ground people, and they're being shadow banned, and they're
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
their sites getting taken down, a lot of stuff. So talk about the importance of independent journalism, like Ida B. Wells back in the day. Our
Sure.
our,
Sure.
our own classical journalists.
So for me, Roland Martin comes to mind. Roland Martin is a notable award-winning journalist. He's also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I had to throw that out there really quick. But Roland now has his own platform. He's the owner of the Black Star Network, which is 100% virtual, 100% digital. And I believe that Roland took it upon himself to start this platform because he saw what was going on in the news, and a lot of black people need that, that trusted news source, because nowadays some news outlets are tainted, right? So with Roland, he was like, okay, I'll create my own independent news platform, my own independent news channel, and I will reach my target demographic to enlighten them with what's going on in the world today. So, yes, I am a firm believer in independent journalism. As long as you're telling the truth, as long as you're being factual, as long as you're being
See,
honest, I can't
this
argue
is
with that.
this is why it's always an interesting conversation, right? 'Cause we talked about like trained journalists versus like a person that's going out there with their phone real quick. But
Hmm.
certain major things have happened in this country, and I was on a whole different platform early in the year, and I would get my best research on the topic via TikTok.
Yeah.
I was really going over this thing. There
Hmm.
were TikTok influencers really putting light on what's going on in these situations versus I'm trying to comb 7 different major news outlets. I'm not even seeing this story. I'm not
Hmm.
even seeing it at all.
Hmm.
I gotta go on TikTok to get the actual what's going on in this city in this situation. So that's crazy, man.
It's sad, right? Yeah, that's tragic. That's tragic, but it's just a sign of the times, man. The world is shifting. The world is shifting. But what I will also say about that is, so yes, so to your point, yeah, TikTok does seem to be, a source of information for some individuals. But at least you actually still know how to research, Sean, because I heard you mention the word research. But now we have a generation that's coming up now, and this is not a slam against them. Lord knows I love everybody. But with some of these new individuals that are growing up, they don't even know how to research. Listen, I remember what an encyclopedia was. All right,
Come on now, 80s. Come on now, 80s.
listen, it's what I do, man. It's what I do. It's what I do. As a public relations practitioner, my job is to keep up with the trend. My job is to keep up with the time. So I'm of that age. The beautiful thing about being a millennial is as a child I might have had the encyclopedias, but we saw America Online. We saw the rise of Facebook. So we've had to adjust accordingly. If the internet for whatever reason decided to shut down one day, or TikTok disappeared, or Instagram went offline, I would know how to research. I would know how to still get what I needed. But I feel like some individuals, I said some, I didn't say all, I said some, I think some younger individuals, they wouldn't even know how to go about getting the information that they need. I'm gonna tell you this, like, some people go to Chat GPT to research a topic. All right. I'm trying to figure out what happened to Google. Like, Google is a search engine. All right. Like, I'm like, what, like, Google, it's still here. Like, the library is free. People forget that it is free. All right. There's nothing but books in the library. Like, you can go research it that way, but the world is changing. It is, I'm not knocking it. It's just an observation. I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining. All right. It's just what I see, Sean. It's just what I see. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You had a time working at Disney, man. Working at Disney.
I did,
Let's
yeah.
not just glance over that
I did.
crowd.
Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
man worked at Disney. So the
Yes,
question is like, what was the reality of being behind the scenes at a place, multi-billion-dollar conglomerate of something like a Disney? What was
yeah.
the opportunity like? What was it like in hindsight? Give us
Mhm.
that.
So Disney is branded as being the happiest place on earth, right? So it was fun. I enjoyed my time at Disney. It was a contract position. This is when I first moved to Orlando. I had been let go from my previous job, which was a web hosting company. I was doing like some light public relations for them. And one day they decided that they didn't need me anymore. And then a friend of mine told me about an opening at Disney. I ended up getting that job. I worked for a wonderful, wonderful woman named Manette Marcial, who I still keep in contact with. She was just the epitome of being kind-hearted. And Disney was fun. Disney taught me a lot of things. Disney is very structured, very corporate environment, but I learned a lot. And it sharpened my skills as a communications and as a communicator, rather, as a communications practitioner, as a public relations specialist. But I was at Disney for maybe 3 months. It was a contract position. I worked at Disney University, working with their cast members, and that was a lot of fun. And then later in my career, in my public relations career, I was able to do some work for Disney. They became a client that I was able to work on and support them with communications and proofreading and content creation. It was a lot of fun, but I love Disney. They're great, and they're like, to your point, they're a conglomerate, billion-dollar company. I believe that Disney actually breaks even before 10 a.m. every morning. Yeah, everything else is just profit. So yeah, it was great.
Um, how do I word this? As a journalist,
Hmm.
I don't want you to say anything negative toward that. But like whenever I had a chance to, well, I have the chance to work for these major companies, when
Hmm.
I'm there, it's always like I expected more, or I thought more than what it actually is. You know what I'm saying? Because if you hear that certain name, Like, man, I work for these people.
Yeah.
So family and friends, like, wow, you work over there? Like,
Hmm.
it's not what they think in their mind that it is. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You have
Yeah.
any kind of a story like that or a situation like that, the way it's like, I
No,
thought
no.
you know me.
I'm trying to think of any brands that I've worked with that. Well, there's always things going on behind the scenes. No organization or corporation is perfect. But there are no examples that come to mind. Oh, actually, there is an example. I can't name this organization.
Yeah,
I
we're
cannot.
not naming names. No names.
But there was an organization that I had as a client, a prominent organization that does a lot of good in the nation. And behind the scenes, it was just they just were severely unorganized, and that was kind of a letdown because I was just like, dang, on the outside, I just thought that y'all had it together, but then behind the scenes, I was like, wow, like this is really problematic. But things happen, such as life. We just continue moving vertically, and we continue to keep it moving.
I got a few more questions for you, my brother. A few more questions.
No problem, Sean. I'm enjoying myself.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it, right? You mentioned right now pursuing your PhD.
Yes,
We all
sir.
know in the world it's a small percentile of black men
Yeah.
PhDs. So
Hmm.
tell me, the audience, what does acquiring your PhD mean to you?
Hmm. So for me, my PhD right now is probably the hardest goal that I've ever set for myself. I'm writing and illustrating a comic book had its challenges, yes, but it was easier than pursuing a PhD. But having said that, so I'm going to answer this question in two parts. So one, what does earning a PhD mean to me? First of all, to your point, I think the world would benefit from, there being more black men and black women with PhDs. All right. Like my PhD is in sociology. Most sociologists are known for wanting to have, a positive impact on their environment, make some positive changes to the world around it because sociology is a study of human behavior. So we're trying to improve, the way in which people think, the way in which cultures are perceived, and eliminate as many conflicts as possible. So having my PhD, garnering my PhD, earning my PhD will mean that I've achieved, a monumental milestone, and that I'll be able to, serve as a thought leader and a subject matter expert to implement some positive change. Now, having said that, even though I indicated earlier, Sean, that earning my PhD is hard, I always tell students, I always tell people, it may be hard, but you can do it. All right. If you can get a high school diploma, you can get a bachelor's degree. If you can get a bachelor's degree, you can get a master's degree. If you can get a master's degree, you can get a PhD. All right. Each one has their own set of challenges. All right. But you master one, you get one, you can do the next one. A bachelor's degree is only a little bit harder than a high school diploma. A master's degree is only a little bit harder than a bachelor's degree. A PhD is only a little bit harder than a master's degree. All right. You can get it done. And then the beautiful thing about a PhD is you're choosing your topic, you're choosing your subject. So for me, I'm a nerd, I'm a blurred, right? My studies, my dissertation, everything that I'm researching in my PhD program deals with Black superhero representation in comic book media and its impact on young readers. So if you choose your own topic, you're already, you're making it fun. Even though there's a lot of work that goes into it, you're choosing a topic that you won't mind researching or writing on. I had a friend of mine that her dissertation was on Black hair, Black women's hair and how they're perceived in the workplace. And she was really passionate about that. But earning a PhD, even though it has a challenge, it's just a lot of writing, it's a lot of research, but you're choosing your topic. So if it's something that you're passionate about, you're just doing a deeper analysis on that topic. You're finding the holes, the areas that need more research, and you're positioning yourself as a subject matter expert and a thought leader on that topic. So it's had its ups and downs. Like right now, quite frankly, my PhD advisor and I had to have a come to Jesus conversation a few weeks ago because I was just like, yo, like you're giving me anxiety, Luckily, my advisor is just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human being who listened to what I had to say and was like, okay, Jaylen, let's put our heads together and let's come up with a solution. Like I love solution-minded people, you know. So even though it's challenging, you can do it. I always tell people, please, if you believe it, I know it sounds cliche, but if you believe it, you can achieve it. You know, like getting a PhD was not on my bingo card. Quite frankly, getting a master's degree was not on my bingo card. You know, but once I got the bachelor's degree, once I graduated from FAMU, I was like, I'm done. It's a wrap. All right, I don't want to do this anymore. All right, and then one day I got bored and was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and knock this master's degree out real quick. I would say it's going to sound odd. My master's degree was easier than my bachelor's degree. I know that sounds crazy.
No, me too. Me too.
Yeah,
Mine too.
Facts.
You mentioned the little wrongs that you was giving your whole breakdown. For me, the further I got, the easier it got to be told. My master's degree was the easiest thing ever.
Yeah.
My associate degree was the hardest because, first of all, I was a 30-year-old man going to college.
Okay.
I've been out of school for so many years, removed from school.
Yes, sir.
I'm just learning again, APA format and what to expect when I write a paper. What you expect when I'm doing these assignments. But once I got the system down pat,
yes, sir.
I'm off to the races after that.
It's
my
a wrap.
bachelor's and my master's, I'm pretty much.
Yeah,
I'm at a full sprint. I'm running.
Exactly. It's a wrap. So yeah, so same. My master's degree was easier than my bachelor's degree. You know, like I don't know. That's just how it worked out. And with the PhD, it's just you're still doing the same thing that you did as a master's degree student, but it's just more research. That's all. Just more and a specific type of writing, of academic writing that it requires. But I've been blessed. I've made A's in all of my classics except for one. I got a B in one class, but A's in all the other classes.
Yeah,
so
congratulations, man. Congratulations. As a Black parent,
yes, sir.
Every time I graduated, it was ultra important to me that my children see those Black PhDs getting that hood that day.
Yes, sir.
I wanted them to walk up there and see them, because when the average person close their eyes and imagine doctor, anybody, they're probably not seeing somebody look like us. They're not seeing that in their head.
That's right.
I wanted my children to see this man right there putting that hood on that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That was ultra important to me.
Yes, sir. Hey, representation matters, Sean. Representation matters. So if Black students and Black children are exposed to that, you never know the positive impacts it can have on them as they grow older. So yes, absolutely. I love that you do that. That's very smart on your behalf.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now for a little more lighthearted kind of conversation, right? So you mentioned, I believe I read it somewhere, you would love to see State Bomb, man, in like a Lego collection.
That's
so
facts.
Here's the question.
That's facts.
I am new to the Lego world the past few months.
Yeah.
Are you a Lego man? Are you a Lego guy?
I am. I wish I had. All of my Legos are upstairs. But yeah, like I'm a Lego collector, man. I'm a Lego fanatic. So my best friend William bought me Michael Keaton's Batman came out in 1989, and Warner Brothers.
My favorite one, by the way. My favorite Batman. My favorite.
It's the best one. It's the best one.
Favorite.
Michael was the best one. I don't care what nobody said. Michael was the best one. All right. But he bought me the bat plane that Michael flew in the movie, the Lego version of it. It's over 1,000 pieces. I think it's like 2,000 pieces. I still need to put it together. I'm trying to get my homeboy Thaddeus to help me out, but I don't know if he's into Legos. But yeah, so upstairs I got Luke Skywalker's X-Wing fighter in Legos. I got Poe Dameron's X-Wing fighter in Legos.
Yes.
I got Millennium Falcon in Legos.
That's what's up.
I grew up on Legos, man. I still got my box of Legos that I played with as a kid, man.
You know what I've been eyeing for a while now? I've been eyeing that Kylo Ren, the helmet.
Yes,
Kylo Ren. I want that helmet so bad, bro. I'm gonna get it.
Yes,
I'm gonna get it. I want that helmet so bad, bro.
Do it. So there's a Lego set of the Ecto-1 vehicle from the Ghostbusters movie. I want that. I don't know. See, the thing is, like, I only got but so much space. All right. So it's like I built these Lego sets. It's like I don't know where to put it. So like when I assemble this bat plane, it's gonna be massive. And I'm like, I'm not going. No. My mama came to visit me once, maybe like 2 years ago. And she went upstairs. Upstairs is my man cave, right? And it's just, it's filled to the brim with just so much nerd stuff. And she was like, Jaylen, you running out of space. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to put it, So we'll see what happens.
Because See, about a year or so ago, one of my friends, Dr. Wade,
Yes,
the
sir.
black doctor, Dr. Wade,
Yes, sir.
she indirectly put me on the jigsaw puzzles, right?
Okay. All right.
And so for the past year, I've
Mm,
been on a puzzle game like crazy, but I'm already realizing in a short period of time how it's impacting like how I see things and how
yeah.
I write, how I
Yeah.
create, how I
Yes.
analyze, like a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing more and more writers are in the jigsaw puzzles. They're into
Absolutely.
Legos and whatnot. So tell me, uh, what are some of the benefits you think from doing the Legos and whatnot? Like, what do you think is a carryover? If you,
I think it's. I think so. For me, it's therapeutic. So it helps get my mind off of work. It's a nice reset. If I'm writing and then I need a break from writing, like it's a way to like reinvigorate myself. Take a break and build Legos and construct something. But what ultimately with Legos, you're building something, right? You're using your imagination to bring something to life. So it's the same thing when you're creating something. The same thing being a creative, the same thing being a writer or illustrator, like you're creating. All right. So I think all of that goes hand in hand. And yeah, so you're right, and good job for doing your research on me. Like you've done your due diligence. Like I'm really impressed, Sean. But yes, I was quoted as saying that one day I hope Stinkball Man the Brain Kids is licensed by Lego, because if there was ever a Lego set with my creations, man, Sean, it's a wrap. All right, like it's a wrap. It's a wrap, man. That'd be stellar. That would really be stellar.
Okay, we got a question from the chat right quick before we get out of here, man. My brother Ladarius is going. He gonna be a PhD one day.
Yes,
He said,
sir. Yes,
"What's your
sir.
go-to book analogy to explain something? Your go-to book analogy to explain something."
So when you say go-to book analogy, is that a specific book or is that how I go about getting information on something?
Okay, there you go, Ladarius. You gave your question back. We'll see that in the chat, right? So while he doing that, to keep the Lego conversation going, right quick, I've been seeing more like NBA players, and you're seeing they build Legos in their free time.
Yeah.
Derrick Rose and Rajon Rondo, two
Mhm,
Hall of Famers, started their own chess league. It's a very
mhm,
interesting concept. They had their own
mhm.
chess league going on. But again, as a young black boy, if I would have seen that, I would have been probably drawn to it. Like, man, so
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
love how it's becoming more cool once again to
Absolutely.
have these other pursuits and endeavors that are dealing with your intelligence and your mental acumen and stuff like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But it was my mom and dad that put me on Legos. So as a kid, I remember being this even before kindergarten. I had to be like in pre-K. Like they just would just buy me Lego sets. And my daddy was always good with building Legos too. So we would build them together. And then my childhood best friend, he was into Legos and he got me into Legos, and then it stuck. Not I used to have action figures too. I'm still like, I still got a few action figures behind. I got Black Adam here, and this is Donatello. I'm not sure if you can see Donatello, the Ninja Turtle, and then Wonder Woman is here somewhere.
I was I was a Leonardo guy.
Yeah, it was Leonardo. Okay, see,
I was a Leonardo guy.
I like Donatello because he's a nerd. All right, yeah, Donatello was a smart one. He was a smart one. Yeah, so yeah, Donatello's my guy. But yeah, so I still got my action figures and they're upstairs
Yeah,
as well. But
yeah,
Legos are
yeah,
always my
yeah,
go-to.
yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
along with parents getting their children to read more,
Yes,
actively reading,
yes, sir.
uh, I see the benefit now. Like you're saying, man, get your children in front of some Legos, man. Get them in front of some blocks. Get them using their that
Mm-hmm.
hand-mind connection. When I'm doing my research, I see in that like Benjamin Franklin, some of the greatest thinkers we've had, they were known for tinkering
Mm-hmm.
and doing like little robot trains and doing these things, but like how much it did something for them that unlocked
Yes,
whenever
sir.
they were doing these deep scientific things that they're known for. This
Absolutely.
stuff in private was a carryover.
Yes,
So,
sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's anytime they're using your brain as a muscle, right? It's the thing about Legos, Lego needs to hire me, all this promotion that I'm giving them right now. They make me the spokesman, all right, Lego. But yeah, I mean the thing about Legos is like ultimately like what I said earlier, like what you and I were just talking about. You're using your imagination to problem solve, all right? There are some people that don't even look at the instructions for Legos. They just look at the image on the box and they try to just figure it out themselves, right? So Legos, jigsaw puzzles, things of that nature. That's intelligence, right? That's you're using your
I'm gonna
brain.
give you I'm gonna give you one last thing before we get out of here, right?
Sure, sure.
I went to the used bookstore in my area last week.
Hmm.
and I saw this huge table.
Yes, sir.
It was all of these like Lego pieces.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can get a small bag for like $5 and
That's
load up all the pieces you want.
that's
And you can
fantastic.
get a larger bag for like $8. And
Yeah,
just have at it and fill your bag up. I was like, bro,
I
I'm
love that.
coming back.
I love
I'm
that.
coming back.
I love that. I judged a Lego competition a few years ago at the local library here in
What?
Orlando, and
Really?
yeah, it was great. It was great. Those kids were geniuses. Geniuses. Goodness gracious, the things that they were able to come up with, I can only fathom. Like it was just beautiful. And then I went to San Diego Comic Con last year. I was blessed to be able to be a speaker at Comic Con, and they had this gigantic Lego city on display. Like it was humongous. It was gargantuan. This is like a really well thought out city with neighborhoods and municipalities and stores and malls and everything. Like I was just like, how long did it take to construct this? But just the power of imagination. But before we go, your brother hasn't responded to the question that I had for him, but I want to say, if it's a book that I'm learning to do something. I grew up on, I'm not sure if they still make these books, but it was like, it would be like subject for dummies, and I would go get that. I looked into being a screenwriter once, and I went to Barnes and Noble and bought the screenwriting for dummies, book, which helped me. Playwriting for dummies. So that helped. That helped. And then if it's a book analogy, and I'm hoping that I'm interpreting what he's saying correctly, for an analogy, whatever I do when it comes to writing a book, because I've also written a few novels as well that I'm working on getting published. Brainstorming always comes first. So my analogy would be, if you have the idea, write it down. I'm old school. I still have to use pencil and paper to write down my idea. Write down a little bit each day and then have it expand and expand and expand and expound upon your characters, expound upon the themes, expound upon the plots. Like, what do you want to impact the character who starts out here? By the end of the book, what's the journey that they've been on? What have they learned from their lessons? That's the analogy that I would apply. I'm hoping I'm answering that
No,
correct.
thank you. I
All
appreciate it. I
right, all
appreciate
right.
it. I love our interactive audience, our intelligent chat.
Yes, sir.
Always blessed on this show to have a very awesome, engaging crowd. Anybody watching the podcast on YouTube later, always give me your comments. I try to respond back as fast as I can. So don't be shy, man. Give us some comments, give us some intel, man. We love it over here.
Absolutely.
Uh, as your journalism sister told you in the past, when your next book coming out, your next project, your next whatever, come back here. You're more than welcome to come back, man.
Sean, you ain't got to worry about it. All right, like I'm coming back. All right, like you already on my list. All right, so I'm working on the sequel now. I'll be back. Yeah, I'll be back. I'm coming back.
Well, y'all saw it. There it is. He said he coming back, man. So with that being said, I will see you all next week. I have the National Book of the Year Award finalist, Amber McBride, who is a young adult novelist, a poet. She is amazing. My next guest next week on the Sean P Experience. I'll have a flyer going out here shortly. Thank y'all very much. I appreciate you. All right, man.